Oops. Hi, and welcome uh, to another episode or another live GTD Coaching Café. I am Morten Røvik, and I am here with Lars Roskilde Henriksen, who's my friend and partner in business and crime and GTD in Denmark. So, hi Lars, how are you today?
Hi, Morten. I'm good, and I'm standing here in sunny Denmark for once. It's been raining for a month, and now it's finally sunny. So I'll appreciate it, even though it might make me look a bit spotty on the video tonight. And happy wedding anniversary to you and Lale today. By the way,
Oh, thank you, thank you. So you
I'm
noticed
honored
that,
that you
yeah?
decided to spend the evening with us. I think we all appreciate it.
Yeah, well, she's had a bit of a back injury, so she can't move a lot. So any plans I had for anything we should do tonight is been postponed. So, but roses, abundance of roses, a woman must have. So she's happy, but on the sofa now, not moving. So, but thank you for noticing.
Sure, of course. And speaking of noticing, before we start, just one question. I haven't seen the video gone live on the Finnish and Swedish Facebook page. So before we kick off, I just wanted to make sure that we are live. Perhaps it's just on my end that it's not showing yet.
Yeah, it should be live.
Hmm? Yeah,
Cross
I just
posting
didn't
is
get it.
on, so
It's just on mine. Good to hear.
I don't know. Maybe it's not, but if it's not, we are not there. But and I see that we have a whole of two people watching. That might be you and me. So okay, Loris. For those of you who have followed this for a little while, you know that Lars and I are trying here to get you to ask us questions or bring your everyday life GTD challenges to us so that we can try and help you to master GTD better. And since we are, either lacking people or they don't know how to get on, now we have 4. Hooray! Thank you. 2 more than us watching. I hope. But since we do ask people to join and not many do, so then we have to make up something. So how do we make up this episode, Lars?
Well, I can just confirm that we are live on the other groups as well. That Oliver was there
Mm-hmm.
to say hi. And actually, Oliver had the last question, or the question that we did not get to last time. So I
Mm-hmm.
figured it might be a suitable place to pick up. So thanks, Oliver, for joining us once again this time via the Swedish page. I think you mixed a bit between the Finnish and the Swedish one. So I saw you now on the Swedish one. Sorry. Yeah, the first question. So that was from Oliver that I captured last time. And his question was: I feel I have an awesome lot of routine tasks. What would be your approach on this? How would you deal with that one?
Hmm. Yeah, some jobs are like that. You have a lot of routine tasks that, recurring tasks that, you have to do admin stuff. You have to do, whatever is on your table. And if that's your job, do it the most efficient way. Make checklists for whatever is recurring. That would be my approach on that, routine tasks. So you don't have to think when doing them.
Yeah.
And if you don't like your job, if it's too much routines, then maybe you should consider getting another job. I don't know. Does that make sense, Lars?
Well, it could be fun, even though it's routine, some of it. So,
Yeah.
no, I think the obvious starting point would be checklists. And since we know that Oliver works with GTD, I'm guessing he likes that job.
Yeah, that's maybe
Uh,
not where he is. His routines are yeah,
yeah. No, but
prevalent.
it is an interesting point because a lot of when we start off with GTD, we talk a lot about you know um, next actions. We talk a lot about projects. These are things to be completed, and as you build on your practice, you start to look into how to capture all the other stuff and make sure that it gets done as easily as possible. So
Mm.
certainly checklists would be a great place to start as something that's reoccurring. Yeah, checklist would be my starting point as well.
Mm.
difficult to say anything more directly specific about it without knowing what the specific tasks would be, what type they are. But yeah, checklist, good place to start.
Yeah, I think too. And then check with your horizons of focus for your areas of focus to see if whether you're doing the right things, doing the right routines, or if you can hand it off to someone else.
Mm.
Maybe you're not the most suited person to deal with that. I don't know. That might be.
Could it be automated? Are there anything else you can do to make it easier?
Yeah. And and what I found in my this is a little techie nerdy side note is that I found that when I do recurring tasks, the more I can automate them, the better it is. So using services like Zapier or what's the file automation tool?
Hazel?
Hazel for Mac. That is also helpful. And and now there is a discussion going on with another podcast that we know people who run the Smarter podcast, Smartere, run by our friends Martin Hagen, Mikael Dreve, and Jens Hyne Petersen, where they discussed on length why Evernote is not a good option anymore, and they got me started looking at DevonThink.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nerdy tool, but it has some really clever automation there. Is that if you scan something or you make something, a document show up in one of the inboxes of DevonThink, they can actually be automated and classified, go automatically into the correct folder of the system, and that kind of intrigued me, like an automation. So. And to remove friction, I think it should be a mantra for anyone who is into GTD.
Mm.
Remove the friction you have in your life as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And
So,
other than that, perhaps things like text expanders could
yeah,
also be worth looking into.
yeah,
Any type of, you can go fancy, or you can just start off small with some small text expander snippets. So when you type in a small sequence of characters, a small code that you use to represent a bigger piece of text, then your system will automatically replace it. It could just be part of the standard whatever operating system you're on. I know it's on Mac, it's already there, or you can
mm,
find specific text expander software. I have snippets that I use multiple times a day, and
yeah, me too.
my current software does not track how much time I've saved, but I think when you use text expander, and if I remember correctly, they actually track, or at least give you an estimate of how much typing time
Mm,
they've saved you.
yeah,
I don't know how accurate that number is, but
yeah.
it's
But the typing
it,
speed, they ask you what's your typing speed. So if you're 60 words per minute, then it will save you this much time.
yeah.
So it should be fairly accurate,
Yeah, I think so, and it's a pretty big number once you actually look at it.
it
I didn't use it
is,
for
it
very
is.
long, but it really does
Mm,
matter
mm.
when you start to
If
use
you're
it.
in email and writing stuff, you're writing documents or parts of documents, to use that kind of automation tool is very powerful. And
Exactly.
and you also have, and this is also really nerdy, but then you are nerdy at another dimension where I don't want to go. But you have um, what is that called? The software where you can record what you do on the screen and then just click
Hmm.
repeat. What is that
Yeah,
called? It's, do you know?
I don't remember the name. Yeah, I know
No.
which one you're talking about,
Well,
but don't remember the name.
if you're listening to this in one of the Facebook groups, if you know that, please comment somewhere so we will see it. Because if you know the name of this software, yeah, it is a fairly nerdy one, but it's a bit too nerdy for me because it's kind of the threshold of getting into it is I don't have the patience to do this should work. So no, but
Yeah, exactly.
and we've just started using a new CRM system for following up our clients, where we can use templates for email that are repeating. Like when I have a coaching client, I have to send them after the prelim call. The prelim call is the call before we do the coaching itself, and we ask them questions. And I have a template for sending them the link to the GTDQ test and the Kairos cognition test after. And that is saving time, because then you just write the name and then boom, create the email, send. Is fast and easy. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So automation, Oliver,
Yeah. And
and
Oliver
removing.
also,
Yeah.
yeah, he also mentioned he heavily uses text expanders,
Mm-hmm.
but also some of the routine tasks are physical, like exercise. That's
Ah,
difficult too. Yeah, you can always improve on that, but I guess text expander does not help you get those running shoes on. So.
no, no, no,
And he also comments that says I also used some of that the screen clock automation a while ago. Don't recall the name, and
mm-hmm.
then subsequently commented click. So I'm guessing that might be the name. I'm not sure.
Click, no. No, not for
That's
this.
not.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no. There's a more fancy word in that. It doesn't.
click might be an option.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it could be an alternative to what I'm thinking about. Yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Good. I don't know if you exhausted that theme, but I think we have. So, do we have anything else recorded for what we can talk about?
I don't see anything in the comments on my end. I don't know if you have anything on
No,
your end.
no, I do not.
Um, no. So my backup for today was actually a topic that I was going to save for an upcoming podcast recording. Um, so I don't know if we want to save that or if we want to dive into that as we as we
Let's.
are here now.
I'm sure we will have something else to talk about when we get to the podcast. uh, let's go for it. What is it?
And we can, I guess, we can repeat it anyway in
Mm.
the podcast if we feel like it. No, once again, you know where I get my inspiration from the GTD subreddit on Reddit.com.
Mm-hmm.
So that members number seems to be going up all the time. Now it's 19,400. I'm pretty sure it was only 17,000 when I first joined, and it seems to be growing fairly
Mm.
rapidly. So I
I'm
like
sure
to
they
sneak in
heard
there
about
sometimes.
that here or in the
Yes, no
podcast,
doubt,
maybe
no doubt.
by us. Ooh.
Yes, yes.
Now I
That's
feel
how people
really
learn about
inflated.
Reddit. No, but
Mm.
there are some posts, and I don't comment much because I think it's often um, difficult to go in there and discuss these things. But I actually love picking them up, and as you know, of course, we have picked up a couple of the questions in there and made
Mm.
whole podcast episodes of them. So I do keep my eye out for that. And there was one
Mm.
called "Is GTD Still Relevant in 2021?" posted 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Um, and there was some. He
Mm.
put in there 7, 8 bullets about GTD with some questions about whether that made sense. So he starts off saying, obviously, there is no question that some elements are absolutely timeless, ubiquitous capture, minimizing inboxes, having a standardized processing workflow for actions, reference, etc.
Mm.
So there are only sort of pieces of GTD that he is not sure is still relevant in 2021.
Mm.
Um, First one he mentions is context,
Mm.
and he wouldn't be the first to ask about that. So the way he phrases it, he says, context seem to be poorly tuned to the reality of most knowledge work, at least in the way. Imagine not being on a computer and an internet connection at all times and doing most any office job. I wonder how many people don't have all three in their pocket all the time.
Mm.
And he says, I've tried reinterpreting it based on the high intensity versus low intensity next actions to match energy levels and focus, but I'm essentially constantly returning to one list of a billion things because my context is essentially the same all day, then batching based on the actual verb involved.
Mm. And I do kind of agree with him that the contexts, um, they were more important before, but still, I will say that they are important. But you have a lot of things on one list. You end up often. But if you use, for instance, errands, I use that, and I even use specific errands for my favorite gadget shop, Claes Olsson. I have a errands list for that, but I use also context for agenda for lists. So when I talk to, I have agenda for Lars and Jukka and Pieter and Martin and all the others I talk to on a regular basis. So that is context that works for me, and but most of my work are, now, especially after Corona started, really forcing us not to, to be, be home or be in the office, and we can't talk to people live anymore. It's a lot about the computer.
Mm.
My at Mac list is long, um,
Yeah.
and but the way I've avoided, that problem is that I'm very vigilant on cleaning, weeding my projects out. So I have a lot of projects on hold, and I have less active projects going on right now. And that is, I think, what saves me, because if not, I would have a lot of next actions showing up. And I built a view where I can hide all the next actions that are in the on hold project on hold view, so I can only see the projects that are actually active with their next action, so it's not overwhelming. So what are your take on this, Lars?
Yeah, no,
Are
completely
they
agree, and it
are they
is.
still relevant?
Yes, I
I do
no,
too.
but it is definitely one of the things that has changed the most in the world that GTD teaches you how to deal with.
Mm,
But like you said, you mentioned multiple of them, and they still do make sense. I think where they sort of blend in together is, for example, frequently you'd hear in seminars, the at office and at computer
mm,
is sort of, well, that's basically the same. And when those lists tend to get long, it's I like to fall back on looking into how do we make it the most easy for you to find the right things to work on,
mm,
because I'm really allergic to long lists. I just checked now, and my computer list is at 27 right now.
mm,
I have other ways to manage it. So my lists are uh, 12 and 16 to work from that list. So I do split it based on energy, because that list just becomes too long for me.
mm,
So it's really more about looking into how do we present you with the right options? How do you most
mm,
easily find the right things to do? Because but just like you said, errands are still relevant. Calls are still relevant.
at the
At
cabin.
home, for me, for sure, yeah, yeah, exactly. Summer house, all that kind of stuff is still relevant. So
Mm,
I do get it from, if you only focus, and I think it's probably also where you come from with your GTD practice, um, where it seems to, I think, further down, at least I remember some of the comments referencing that there were, this would sound like an IT person also managing others. So it
mm,
could sound like the GTD practice is only directed towards a specific subset of the actual total amount of commitments that would be in this person's life,
mm,
assuming a normal life with all the commitments that go with it.
mm,
So that might give a bit of a wrong impression of what should be in there. And again, if you have a billion tasks on your list, then you might want to want to look into that and see, just
yes.
like you said. So should we put something on hold, or how do we then deal with that to make it actually workable for
Mm, I do too. So, um, but if you're going to give context to criticism, it because GTD is not religion. This is a framework for looking at your commitments, deciding what to do, what not to do. But if you look at it hard and criticize it, and I do think that it is a valid point that it was more. Um, but I'm not sure it's more pertinent before, more important before, because if you put it at the office, and I think maybe the reason why it feels like it is a lot when it comes to one big list is because we are our tasks are maybe smaller. I don't know. Our next actions may be smaller. I don't know. I'm just trying to think with my mouth open here. No, because people worked before too, didn't they? They made good progress on the meaningful things. So, in what way has the work changed? It's more digital. It's more
Higher
on the
volume.
computer, and maybe even less physical than before.
I think higher volume would probably be things are moving faster. You didn't get many letters in a day if we want to really go all the way back. Number of emails that many people receive.
Hmm.
It's just and Slack messages and emails is yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know, to be honest, how we will look at this, but yeah. But I'm happy that people are engaging and asking questions and looking at this. So I don't know if it would be good if you just open this and show them people Reddit, because I don't know if everybody knows what Reddit is. And it is just a forum where you can decide. Let me see if I can do this. Voila. Is GTD still relevant in 2021?
That's the one.
So
So that's the first bullet that I picked up.
yeah, exactly, context. So should we just continue down this list
Hmm?
until somebody,
That's what
and please, if you're listening or seeing us, please write a comment, or we will be very happy to take your question. So please interrupt us. So okay. So the next one is the workflow diagram. Would you like to attack that one?
Yeah, so just for those who might not be able to read it on screen, the workflow diagram seems to presume that any piece of stuff is just one thing, but upwards of 90% of my emails, Slack messages, etc., involve a mix of reference requests for multiple actions, and some of those actions involve research development that spawns multiple new projects just to answer the email. So yeah,
Welcome
that's
to the reality.
that that's what happens, and that's one thing that shows up, and then that may be the simplicity of the workflow diagram. I don't know. I don't. That's just how it is, and that's how it's always been. If we again look back in the past, it would have been like that always. So I don't see that as that's just
You have to
when you look
decipher
into
what
what
you
is it,
get.
there is, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
that's the thinking
but
that thing
that's
through.
your job
That.
to figure out what's the job, and that's maybe
Yeah.
the new thing that David is pointing to very um, correctly, is that the new jobs are figuring out what is my job, really, what am I supposed to do,
Hmm.
and that's not easy, figuring out all time. So
Yeah.
yeah. Should we go and look at this again and then attack that? He writes the 2-minute rule, even if reply to email falls under that, the background research, development, and the project it spawns end up taking far longer, and I've not figured out an effective way to do anything other than leaving the email to reply in my inbox. Which is, by the way, not to be leave it in your inbox is not GTD. It is making decisions, and but I do understand that a lot of people find it difficult to have the 2-minute rule them, because you can get
Hmm.
into email ping pong with people. I don't know if you noticed what that is, but what I mean with email ping pong is that people are um, if you start a dialogue and they are at their computer with their email program running, you could have a ping pong session with them. So what I do myself, and I do suggest for my clients they try is that to, instead of doing the 2 minute quick answer and then you are continuing down, and when you're finished you have 5 answers, that's also 2 minutes. So you're, that's what I mean with email ping pong, is that wait to answer email. For instance, don't answer email the first hour, don't look at your emails the first hour, work, do focused work instead, and then from 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, something, then open your email and start sending, because then other people are doing doing their work, so you will not have ping pong. So that it might be less of that 2 minute rule. I don't know. Does that make sense to you, Lars,
Mhm.
or do you have some
Yeah.
other take?
Yeah, no, and it's again, I think this relates to the what he mentioned earlier, that there might be more than 2 minute actions in whatever shows up in this world. So
Mm.
you could still do the 2 minute action, and then the other things that might follow, well, you have to deal with them again, just like you, or not again, but according to the workflow. Um, just want to go back to the first one because we had a couple of comments on that one. Oliver said how he would use the computer list versus the office list. So if something can only be done at the office, it would go on that list, and if it could be done on any computer, then he would use the computer list. And Michael Reus says, for many people, we can work anywhere, anytime, with anything, as long as we're connected. I don't use contexts at all, but still GTD is contributing big time to me.
Hmm. Yeah, well, GTD, as we've been saying so many times, it's a framework. You can choose to use context if they make sense to you. If you don't understand how, if you not, if you do understand how they work or are supposed to be working, and that doesn't work for you, don't use them. It's very simple. Uh, Use what makes sense to you, and maybe it will make sense to you later if it doesn't make sense to you now.
Yeah.
Mm. So he talked also about the filing reference system. Would you like to read that one?
Sure. So he says this seems like a fundamental weakness of the system. A single A to C filing system is laughable when the sheer volume of information available is growing exponentially, and the information we need to process, store, and access is more complex and just bigger. I think I've seen the figure that, yeah, he gives an example that there is a lot more information coming our way. Um, and it's, filing and reference. We've been talking about a lot about that in the Danish groups. The first 6 months, I think, of this year, and
Oops.
it's interesting how different requirements and different needs, and you and I have talked about it on the podcast as well. How different our needs are for this, and I don't see any problem with having my stuff A through C in my OneNote, for example, which I use for my notes-based archive.
Mm.
Works perfectly fine for me. Um, it's such an individual topic on what your needs are, and I think, Morten, maybe you're more suited to speak more to this. I think you at least do more organizing than me. I'm Mr. Search.
Yeah. Well, and again, this is GGD. It's not a religion. It's a framework. Take what works for you, and if it doesn't work, find a different system. And I mentioned I started using DevonThink when we started this recording. DevonThink is a database reference system where you can put documents and files and take notes and put photos, whatnot. Is like an alternative for Evernote for those who have a Mac or an iOS device. And for me, it makes sense to divide my, not do A to C um, at the bottom level, because for me it makes more sense to make it by project. So or areas of responsibility. So for instance, all the information about my coaching clients are in a coaching client folder. All my private receipts for whatever I buy,
Okay, yeah,
it's
that
in a
that I agree with. Yeah.
yeah. So but when I search for something, I don't need to know where it is, as long as I've, and this is what I think is super important. one of my pet peeves and one of the things that I will say until I die: change the file names on your files before filing them, so they actually make sense to you. I don't know if you've done that. I'm sure pre-GGT you did that a lot, like me. That you get a scan and then you put it on the inside your filing reference system, and it still scans 72453x.pdf, and you look at it. I understand what is and then what this is, and then you pull it into your system, and it becomes the black hole where everything goes. So to have I don't know if I can show this. Maybe I can't, because I have made a little naming convention for this. Let's see if I can open this. See if I can show it to people. If I can just get it to show me only in... No, I cannot. Yes, I can. Aha. So if I do this now, here we go. If I then zoom to the thing, file naming scheme, there we go. This is my file naming scheme. It's been refined over time, and this is how I rename every document that I put into my filing system. And I said my rule here is always change the names of the files you archive to something that makes it easy to find when you need it. That makes sense, doesn't it? So that means either to add or entirely replace the existing file name if there is one already. So I am suggesting some elements that would be useful. First is what kind of document is this? Regarding what? What is this document regarding? From or to whom, if someone sent it to you, name of the one who sent it, if you received it from someone, the name of the person who sent it. And the state, is the document a draft or a final version, or maybe signed? And then the date. And I make an example here is lease-apartment-Romsås Allé 18-Ola Normann-signed, and then the date. And it might look laborious, but if I don't exactly remember, I remember it was a lease contract, and I only remember the address or the name of the person, or I just need to remember it was signed, and then I will find that very easily. So, and if you want to, as I show here, my final power tip, if you decide that you need a chronological order of the documents in a folder, put the date first in this format: year, dash month, dash date, day. And then you set the folder sorting to alphabetical, and then it will sort on date, which is good. Have you done something like this, Lars, or am I totally nerdy?
No, it's not. And now that you're walking through this, you would find some of that information in the folder structure that I would have, and some of it would be in the file name as well. I wouldn't have all those details. In many cases, you have, that scanned PDF just does not exist in my world. If I scan something, it's there's an OCR layer in there somewhere that can be searched. It's when we look at it this way, it's really not that far away from how I would organize my things.
No, and the idea here is that if you use this file naming scheme, you do not need folders unless you need them for sorting. And that would make it really searchable, and just to take, and this is what we don't do, or at least I didn't do before, is I don't take the time or the 10-15 seconds it takes to think, what would I search for? The future me, what would the future me search for here? What would be relevant? So the what is very important. It's a contract regarding what, from who to whom, what state is it in, and what's the date. And that makes it so easy to find it again. And I every time I find a document using my, that I've been using my name file naming scheme, I've thanked myself. Oh, thank you, former me, for being kind to me in the moment here. You made it easy for me to find things. So I don't know if that made any sense to anyone watching, but if you like that, give us a thumbs up so we can see some hearts or some thumbs up here. I would like that.
I do see a couple of questions, so maybe we want to
Mm?
just pause the Reddit one.
Mm-hmm.
Question from Michael: how do you see working with GTD? Let me try that again. How do you see working with GTD together with colleagues unfold in a good and sustainable way, besides from everyone taking the training? Where might be a good place to start?
Yeah, that's a good. If everybody has the training, that would be the best start. Yeah, because that we always get. Myself, I remembered when we did this before, is that we had people um, coming to us and saying that, oh, I want to, how can I explain GTD to my colleagues? How can I get all my colleagues to work with GTD? Because I'm a little fed up because nobody does it, and I feel lonely, and I feel like they're not doing a good job. And the idea here is that to get everybody to, understand that GTD is good for them and learning GTD. I don't care how. You can learn it by the book if you want, but as long as somebody understands GTD fully, then they will be GTDers, and that would, I don't care how they learn. But when they've learned GTD and they have this basis, then establishing some routines. How do we talk about, use GTD, the natural planning model, to talk about what meetings do we have, uh, why do we have them, and why is that important, and what's the framework here, what's our outer boundaries, and how does wild success for these meetings look, and using that to plan things. And I think that is a very good way to start, because the natural planning model is something everybody understands the
Hmm.
nature of, and understands the power of. So we are doing some work with the University of Oslo now, and I've done horizons of focus analysis of the IT, UEO IT there, and we are looking at helping people work by the natural planning model as a way to ease them into working from the GTD principles. And I think that is a very good way to start, just because when you understand that little model, the natural planning model, a lot of commonsensical coins drop, where you say, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and yeah, that, oh, is is that why my my project takes so long time, because I'm not doing this? That makes sense. So I think that might be a good way to start. What is your
Hmm.
take on this, Loris?
Yeah, I think that sounds really. I like your thinking about the natural planning model and how that might be a good way in for people. I think um,
Mm,
if I think back to when I used to in my previous life as an IT consultant, if I were to introduce a colleague to some of the aspects, it really would be based on where I would see the colleague having the most need. So where
mm,
they're really stressed out, let's try and get some stuff out of their head. Where they're really struggling to get moving on things and feeling really tired, well then maybe let's have a look at the clarifying diagram and
mm,
seeing if that might help them. So really figuring out how, what would help them in that specific in their specific scenario. And of course, the challenge in that would frequently be hey, let me show you my list, and then people would fall off their chairs and would start crying and running away because they that is certainly not what they would want to have that reflection
mm,
of their life. And obviously, those were my list, that was my system, made sense to me. but as any trainer and experienced GCDers often also know, is that it's hard to teach people GTD because you really have to take a step back and explain the 5 steps as opposed to explaining how you do GTD.
Mm. Yeah. Um, and just this, I think the idea is that because most people understand common sense. I think that I don't. I'm not sure if this is a David Allen quote, but I think he said something along these lines at some point in his life up to now, that most people do not understand or see common sense unless it comes and kiss you in the forehead, and then you go, yeah, that makes, yeah, well, yeah, this is good. This I understand this, and I think
Mm.
that because GTD is so commonsensical, it's just logic. Um, Most people will understand and accept logic when they understand and see it. So I think that might be a good way. Use the logic in the getting things done methodology and appeal to and give them quick wins.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So more overview, more control. Do the weekly review, do the capture, help people start with that.
Yeah.
I think that might be what I would suggest.
Yeah.
And where do we go now?
We go to the just one comment from Michael. He says 5 minutes ago, or you could use tags in your file system since date are part of metadata on these files, and use Spotlight, Devon, or Alfred for search.
Yes, you could.
So you could do
But
that.
but the now I'm going to be. I'm sure Michael, you can maybe join us on camera and debate with me. But I'm a little scared of the tags used in the Mac, because it changes. The structure changes and the way they work changes. Been changing up through the different cycles of Mac OS. So I'm a little scared to use them. Michael, do you want to join us and debate this? Can you dropping the link, Lars? Do you have the link if he wants to join?
I can do that. And while I do that, I will then pass on another question
Mm-hmm.
from Mr. Jens Sune Petersen. Do you have any advice about introducing GCD to children and adolescents?
Yes, we do. Um, and we do actually have a project on that, which I'm sorry to say has been parked because of Corona. But there is, for those of you who can read and understand Norwegian, there will be a very good post in. Let me make a note and ask. Anna Stinanes, our trainer, one of our trainers in Norway, wrote a really good post that was. I read it today. How can you introduce small children to GTD? And she was highly influenced by something I wrote many years ago. That was about how can you teach children how to, clean up their room. And I don't mean clean up, but to tidy it up and help them use getting things done to ease into that process of doing that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask her to post it on our blog as well, because she's in the Agderposten here in Norway. She writes for that every Sunday. So I will ask Anna-Stina post on Product in Norge.no, so that those of you who follow our blog can go there and read it, because she made a really good job at that. And I see we have Michael in the green room, so I will add him to our mix and say hi, Michael.
Hi again.
And you are muted, I think. No, we cannot hear you. You must try again.
And while we wait, just to mention GTD for Teens as well as an introduction to. And now I hear myself, so I think we have Michael on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you close
Mic
the
switching.
Facebook page while you're doing that, so you don't get us in the.
Yeah. Sure. Are you good?
Yeah. Now we can hear you. Hi and welcome, Michael. Good to see you.
So-
We've been following each other for a long time, and I'm happy that you are here. So.
Yeah.
Good. Do you have a question? What is your take on whatever you want to talk about?
It's the thing. It's the thing about tags, right? Because
Yeah.
it's actually what we have been working on. At least some of us who has the ability to work on tags, right? That.
Yeah.
So I mean, and the way we do it, and I don't understand what you say that it's changing, because from my point of view, it's only been expanding actually. So you can also use it on iOS devices and stuff like that now, even for search.
Okay.
And I think what's interesting with the tag structure is actually that, as a lot of other stuff in this world, it's an abstraction layer. So if you really build a good tag structure, you can use it on your file system, you can use it in DevonThink, you can use it in your task manager, and it is it is a way of thinking of abstract thinking, basically, about where do I have my stuff, how do I name my stuff, and it's a consistent way of applying a structure in all kinds of systems. I also use it a lot in Obsidian for my note taking, and it matches very well. So you get this. It's becoming not muscle memory, but still, a kind of muscle memory that you actually know. Okay, I know I have this horizon, this and that, and it's these people, and it's I have a set of meta tags that I can actually use, and it makes search really efficient, actually. So. That's the way I see it. Is a great benefit instead of a very complex naming scheme like the one you presented.
Isn't the tags just that, and a naming scheme helps you to find things.
Yeah. But the thing is that if you use tags, then you can also use them in the same way for identifying projects in your task manager. And I know you and I are sharing task managers as well. And this is actually what I use tags for. I don't use it for context, as I wrote, because it doesn't make sense to me, because I can always work with my phone or my computer no matter where I am. So it's not kind of that important. But using tags as an abstraction layer to connect all the information you actually have in your task manager and other subsystems is a really good way. And the way that Jens and I did it was basically to have a tag structure that actually very much reflected areas of focus, basically, and some project tagging and stuff like that. And that actually makes sense if you take it down to the file system as well, because you can have your files floating anywhere in all kinds of cloud services, but you have your tag structure as an abstraction layer to connect it all.
Okay, so could we then go back to my, because I find it highly interesting, because you've done a lot of thinking on this, and I've done some thinking, but it's not been as thorough as you've done. So please enlighten us. If you look at I gave you the file naming scheme. How would you use this? Would you, for instance, if it was a lease, would that be a tag instead? So all the leases would be a tag?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would.
Okay, because that's why I'm using a file name for this, because the tag is in the file name.
But also, if I have documents, I'm writing proposals or presentations or whatever I do in my line of work, I have something which is draft status, and I can find all my drafts really quickly. And even okay, I have some time for writing. What drafts do I have? So that's actually a way of context, but not the GTD way of context, right? Or
no.
I wrote an article for Lars.
Yeah. this is what I call a state of something. You know, it's
Yeah.
but if
I
you
have in
use
my
then
task manager, read this book. Right now we are going deep on note taking, so it's all about how to read a book and how to make an efficient note taking system. And it's kind of, okay, I'm reading this book that is airborne, or that's ongoing right now. So it kind of also in my task manager is reflected. Okay, this is maybe it's been a while, but you actually took some part of that book, right, before you got engaged in something else. And so also I use it for in my task manager for all my next actions. All my lists are based on tags, basically.
okay,
Waiting for people, agenda, all that stuff. That's just tags.
well, it is tags for me as well in my system. Most of what you talk about now, but I'm trying to still bend my head around on how is tags better than file names. Your case has not been driven home with me, so please make a better
No,
case.
that's okay.
Give me a few
The thing is
examples.
that if you make an abstraction layer based on text on a structure, it's basically a structure, right? You can take that same. You cannot take your file naming scheme and put it into OmniFocus, or put
I can. I can.
yeah, but it will. Would that make sense for you to name your tasks after a file name?
No,
No, exactly.
I would not. But if of course I would name my project the desired outcome of whatever I want to, But how would you then use the tags to? Because what you're talking about is, if I understand you correctly, so you will name your next actions, your next action, and then you will add tags for connecting it
Accordingly.
to the reference material as well, or
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So how would that look? Like, let's say I have a next action called send email to Lars regarding um, GTD summer camp, which is very hot at the moment. I understand.
Yeah, it's very hot.
I can
Yeah.
I can namely see Lars's calendar, so I know that's on his on his
Yeah.
radar for
Yeah,
today.
exactly. So first of all, GTD Summer Camp would be a project in my OmniFocus. It would
Yes.
also be a number of files that we have been working on, some mind maps and some documents and stuff like that, and that would all be tagged GTD Summer Camp, right? That is a base tag because it's a project, and maybe it should be called GTD Summer Camp 2021 because there could be a 2022 or something like that. But decide on a project tag. That project tag you take to, okay, your next action is to write email to Lars. Basically, define your next action. What is it you want to talk to Lars about? So put that in your next action and then just tag it. Email GTD Summer Camp Lars, and Lars would show up for the on your email list, or on your waiting for, or on your next action list, or wherever you basically would like to put your action, right?
Okay.
So that tag will still apply in the file system. So I can quickly use Spotlight and do a tag search for GTD Summer Camp, and no matter where I put the documents, be it in DevonThink or in a file drive somewhere, I will get all those files with that tag, and that very simple project tag. And
Okay.
it's a yeah.
So for you made a decent case for that. Thank you for that. And I will. You're not off the hook yet, Michael, because I want to ask you one more question. Is that because this is, if I understand correctly, Mac and iOS only? It's not a PC system.
And that is another problem of mine actually, because I'm struggling with, someone gave me a Windows machine, right? But I hear and I know there's some Windows people on the call here. I know it's actually also a possibility in Windows. I just don't know how. But you can actually apply tags in Windows as well if you want to.
But are they cross-platform tags? Will they? If I put a tag in a PDF on a Mac, they will not show up somewhere?
No, on a Windows machine. No, they won't. No, they won't.
Okay, so
but why would you want to do that on your personal productivity system?
To use a PC as a personal productivity system. I think now.
No, but but the thing is that basically the same structure also apply in, I use it in labels in Gmail. I still have my areas of focus as label groups in Gmail, and so it's instead of focusing on is it a tag, is it a label, is it a basically a folder as well, right? It is the structure that is central to whatever you do in your task manager or your file system or your mail folders or stuff like. So it's that structure that over time become really solid for you in your workflow, and can actually get you to your information very, very quickly. At least that's our experience.
Yeah. No, I thank you for enlightening me about your thinking around this, and I'm happy you did, because now I feel and both enlightened. You're not sold me on this yet. I just want to say that, Michael, but I will check in to see if I can use it. The only thing that I'm a little scared of is to get locked into an operating system, because that is my biggest concern, because I've been in an Evernote, and Evernote is not a open source or open format of any kind, so you're locked into that. So I'm starting using DevonThink and Markdown, because that is
And what a
open,
wise
easy.
and what a wise decision, because it's flat, but it's and that's why what I focus on is basically on the structure. Whether you can use tags in DevonThink. They actually import directly from your file system. When you put the files into DevonThink, they just take the tags along, but that doesn't give you Windows, right? So you're already on a system of DevonThink that doesn't do Windows Markdown.
No, but I can actually access that there. I can do an export. I can open the package, and I can then just drag and drop that file onto a PC. It will take me 5 minutes, and it's done. I'm ready
Totally
to go.
agree.
Yeah, I'm
Your
free.
exit strategy is very simple. Yeah, your exit strategy is really simple on that, and that also goes for Markdown. But if you use system like Obsidian, which I would propose to you,
another nerdy
you can
thing.
also use tags, right?
Yeah.
And you can actually apply the same structure that you build everywhere else.
Yeah.
So, but I will convince you on the summer camp.
A couple of comments from the stream. Stefan is saying tags on Windows 10 is a pain and time consuming. Torbjörn is asking, what if you forget your tags? Do you have a master tag list somewhere? What do you do with outdated tags?
I have, and I think it's in my monthly, weekly review. I do a tag cleanup. Basically, I can look at my file system and see, all these tags. I can actually get them displayed in my Finder, and I can see how many files are actually attached to this. And so I spend 10 minutes on cleaning that up on a monthly basis. I don't really forget my tags, because it's status, action, areas of focus is basically what's in my structure. So that's kind of, if it's not there, it's probably not there, right? So I'm not that afraid of getting a project tag. If I have a project tag, I also have a project with the same naming in my OmniFocus, for example. So I haven't really. I'm trying to think of a time where what was that tag? I just go a level up, and then it will surface. Whether I misspelled it or something, right? And so yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
I'm super happy you came on board, Michael, and I'm sure this will not be
welcome.
the last time we will have you on on somewhere. And I'm really looking forward to the GTD summer camp in Denmark. So let's make that happen, because we will do some real GTD nerdery there, I'm sure.
We're for sure working on it. That's for sure. Take care, guys. Thanks for it.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Okay,
Cool.
we are getting close to our marked time in 1 minute, actually. So any final thoughts or?
No, that was good. That was actually even got me. I hate to say it, got me a bit tag inspired as well. I have to say.
Yeah.
No, but as you mentioned now, sorry, we'll go just a few minutes over time. No, so we had a summer camp planning meeting earlier this evening to walk through some of the things. I needed a natural planning model that we had made last time. I could just search for it. I searched my NPM summer camp and it showed up just fine. I
That was the
do see
naming scheme you used, right?
exactly. Yeah. So it does, but I do see the attraction of actually just that's linked from my list manager, or it's I like the perspective of not looking from a file perspective, but from the the more functional perspective, maybe, or project perspective, or whatever it might be. I do appreciate that. So he got me. I'll have to.
I will
have
look
to look
into it
into
as
that.
well. Yes, and I've been playing around with it little, but I've had some problems that my tags, when I updated to Big Sur, everything disappeared, and I have to rebuild them.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I do use tags for instance, everything pertinent to GTD coaching. All the documents spread around my disk do have a tag in the Finder. So when I clicked that, then suddenly everything was gone, and I was, I don't want the mailer structure. I can't trust. So okay, but I will
No,
look
that
into
makes
it.
sense.
You've convinced me, Michael. Thank you. I will look into this, and I'm sure Lars will as well. So okay, any finishing thoughts, Lars?
No, I think that's it for today. Just for the Danish listeners, I joined in the podcast with Morten Mønster called Adfærd in Danish, which was a lot of fun to make, really well produced, fun to hear when we talk about clarifying and managing notifications. Then you hear the sound of a new email on your iPhone or a ding.
Can I just ask you a question, because I've been listening to that today, this interview, because I was interested, and did he speed you up both? Because you
No, I
talk
think we were
really
just
fast.
speedy. Yeah, we were just both speed talkers that day. I think just excited and having fun. But no, it was
Did
fun.
some
It was fun
amphetamine
recording.
before, and then suddenly everything was just a natural
We went to
chipmunk.
there's a really nice bakery on the corner where he has his studio.
It's a bakery,
So
yeah, man.
we got some coffee, and we might have gotten some sweets as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
That might have been it.
If you told me you were in Amsterdam, that would be very much slower, maybe. Some
Yeah,
bakery
that might
from
be the other way. No,
Amsterdam. Yeah.
but for the Danish listeners, that was a fun episode. So
Yep.
it's an introduction to GTD. So
Yeah.
if you know the basics, then but we got some good perspectives. You had some good questions, some questions on where to start. So might want to recommend that. And yeah, otherwise for the people in the Nordics, rest of the world, gtdnordic.com as always, the place to start to find more about us in Denmark, Norway, or each of the Nordic countries.
Yeah, and you will find the recording of this in GTD Nordic GTD Nordic DK YouTube channel, don't you?
Yeah. So we uploaded. We have some of I think the podcast episodes goes to my name, and I think these ones goes to the GTD Nordic Denmark YouTube channel.
So you can see it after the fact if you want to. What did Michael say about tags again? Then that's possible to go back and see after the fact. So, well. Okay, should we just wrap it up and say goodbye? Thank you, everybody, for being here. And until next time, stay safe and stay productive. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Lars.
Bye, one.